Hi there, this is Uncle from tacticalgamer.com. Been a while since I did a tutorial, been busy making missions and, real life work and stuff. But wanted to show you a couple of the nifty tricks I learned from B, one of the mission makers here at Tactical Gamer, and I've been using it to great effect, using it in the team versus team missions that I have been spending most of my time at. One of the reasons why I have been doing tutorials. Anyway, regardless of that, let's get started. I want to show you something called the function for Bohemia's function for load and save inventory. We're going to use that to take care of some gear. So I'm going to start this new scenario by placing a player. We're going to save it. Lately I've gotten into using folders more often now. Basically these are all the missions here in my MP missions folder, but now I've started creating additional folders like, so where's my name here? I can't see my name for looking at it. I'm opening the UNC folder and I've got this, so it makes it a lot easier for me to work with some of the other folks around Tactical Gamer, either assist with their missions or learn from them. So let's call this one a tutorial. Load, save, inventory. I'm going to save that. I'm going to set some attributes for this right off the bat. I don't know if I'm going to need to debug for this one, but I always do that. And I'm not sure what this required DLC. I don't want. And like that, multiplayer options, we're going to need it to do a few things. I'm going to auto assign slots so I don't have to pick a slot each time. I'm going to respawn on custom position. And going to choose to select a respawn position. This will demonstrate a little bit about what we're going to do. So I'm going to make a respawn timer of 4 seconds. And allow manual respawn, yes. I think that's all I need to worry about here. Okay, so we'll save that up. Now, let's create a couple of respawn positions so that we can test this out as well. I'm going to use the system module under multiplayer for respawn position. Let's put one over here. The name, we'll call it basketball court. It'll be for the blue 4 side. It'll show to only blue 4 and no notification, which means that when you look at the map, you'll see a marker where that respawn location is, but the other side wouldn't see it. All right, so anybody on either Independence or the eastern side, OP4, would not see the marker on the map, would not know where the respawn position is. I'm just going to create a second one over here. Between the barracks, we'll call it barracks. Whoops. Let's make it a little bit different. It would show to everyone, and notifications would be enabled, so you get a little pop-up every time somebody respawns. Okay, fair enough. Now let's take a quick look at the default behaviors that are going to happen here. I guess in order to demonstrate that, what I need to do is, you can see I came in as a squad leader. We edit the loadout of the squad leader. I could change it quite drastically and demonstrate what's going to happen. Let's give him some summer clothes. Let's take away his rifle. All right, we'll leave him with a pistol. Get rid of that vest. Give him a nice hat. Remove the NVGs. Okay, and maybe in his uniform, give him a couple of magazines for that pistol, huh? There we go. Now we hit OK. So we've drastically changed the loadout. All right, so let's take a quick look at how this plays out. With those settings, all those settings I did for respawn are going to be important important here. Okay, and then going in, you notice choose respawn position menu came in. So my player already spawned exactly where I placed him in the spot in the barracks, all right, and then basically was killed. When you're playing this multiplayer, you'll see other players. You won't see this for yourself, but you'll see other players when they come in and get to this point. You'll be playing and you'll see that so-and-so player forced respawn, because what happened is I just basically came in, spawned in that spot right there, and then was killed immediately without losing a score to put me into the respawn menu. Now I've just respawned, and if I go to my third person, you can see that I have all of the default gear for a squad leader. And all that customization I did is gone. And so when you're creating missions and you're doing custom loadouts on your guys and you're wondering why when they respawn they have the default gear, that's exactly what we're going to fix. Alright, so let's get back out to the editor. I decided to do this one full screen, so I'm going to jump back and forth. It's not going to be a little more clunky than some of the other tutorials where I can jump back and forth between the game and the scripting seamlessly. I'm going to have to do that all in the video editor from here. So there's something that we can do right off the bat to fix that. And to demonstrate that, let me see if I can pull up one of my custom compositions. Alright, you can save compositions under the F2 or the group. Alright, I'm going to go to my custom compositions, and I built a weapon rack for one of the team versus team missions. Let's see if we can place that down. Okay, so it's placed down kind of funny, so I just got to adjust all of my settings. I'll undo. Okay, I am going to, I don't want to snap the ground. Okay, let's see if that does it. There we go. Now, in order to spin this, what's going to happen is if I try to spin all these objects, it's going to take those rifles and turn them sideways. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to use the rotation widget to adjust this. There we go. See, I could get real fussy here and get that right up against the wall. There we go. Now I'm not going to select these objects anymore. I can turn this all back to normal. Alright, so basically what I want to do here is I'm going to put a load and save action on this weapons rack. So let me select that, open that up. Okay, and what we're going to do is just use this add action. Let's say this add action, and the add action will be save gear, and then it'll execute some code, which we'll get back to in a second. So the code that we're going to insert is going to go right in between these squirrely brackets, or whatever you want to call them. Alright, then there's going to be another add action to load gear. So this load or add action. And then we'll get the code for that. I want to go over that in outside of the Eden editor so that the code actually makes sense. So for now we'll leave that the way it is, and going to pop out and get into Notepad. Okay, so I just loaded up into the community wiki for the Arma 3 functions. A lot of editors are used to using maybe some of the scripting commands, but sometimes take a little while to get into using the functions. You could either, normally what you do with these functions is you use the scripting command call to call the function. And the function, basically you need to pass some parameters to the function. Okay, so in the square brackets in the front, you pass an array when you call a function, and functions are basically like a short little script. that's already built into the game that you can call it, and it'll run like just like calling any other script. All right, so we're going to call, or I'm going to search for inventory, and I'm going to find the LoadSave Inventory. There's load. So I'm going to open that up in a new tab. And then I can see the save inventory here. I'm going to open it up in a new tab. So let's start with the save inventory, since that would be our starting point. Just take a look at the syntax of how this function is working. So when I said passing parameters, that's okay, an array of values we need to pass to the script that is the function, this function save inventory. What it requires in the way of parameters is one is the object, okay, in which the loadout will be saved, so the player in this case, and then another array, which is in the format of where you want to save this loadout to. I wouldn't want to save the loadout to the object, because when the object is killed and is recreated when you respawn, you wouldn't have saved your loadout if you'd saved your loadout to that object, because the object is deleted and recreated basically when you respawn. So we're going to use the mission namespace, which is the global area in which all, let's say, global variables and that sort of thing, objects exist. All right, so we'll use mission namespace, and we can create any kind of string I think we want as just to save any number of loadouts that we wanted to within the game. All right, so we will save the object loadout for our player, all right, in the mission namespace. Simple enough. I don't quite understand what this true to delete the loadout is, whether that's when you respawn, whether it would then delete the loadout once it was loaded again or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not even going to use that third optional option. All right, so let's get into basically the save inventory that we're going to use is basically the same thing, except for I just called it virtual inventory because I got this from B, and that's what he'd used. So I've just been keeping the same format. And then we can just load the inventory again by calling the function load inventory. Very, very simple. So let's copy this code and head back into the mission editor, and then create a load and save option there on our okay, so back in the mission editor, I believe I'd already done this basically. Pressed the wrong button there earlier on, but anyway, all I did is copy and paste that code inside the code brackets of an addAction. So I've got save inventory here, and I've got the load inventory on the second addAction. It's really that simple. Okay, demonstrate how this is working. I had a custom loadout, right? T-shirt and a pistol with a ball cap on this guy, and we know that when I spawn in, okay, and I've spawned in right now, when I get to here, I'm going to respawn. I have to choose the respawn position, and here we go. I've got the default loadout again. But what I can do at this point, demonstrate the load and save by, let's remove some of these objects. All right. So you can see that I've removed the vest, helmet, rifle, and so forth. If I go over to the weapons rack, look straight at it, I can save the gear. Okay. Now what I can do is then respawn again, right? And we know that I'm going to respawn with the full default gear. And I did. And we could use the load function to load the save gear. So again, if you got basically an arsenal or weapons crate and you want players to be able to customize the gear and then save it, and then when they respawn, load it back up again, this might be an option that you might find useful. Okay, but let's take a look at some of the other ways in which we can use these load save functions, especially with this configuration of having to choose a respawn location and being able to use the customized gear that we created within the mission editor. So back out to the scripts for a second. So now I'm in the mission folder, all right, where I'd created the tutorial LoadSave Inventory, right? And all I have is the missionSQM file for the Eden editor. Now there's a couple of things, a couple of files that we could create here. I'm going to create a new file just on player respawn. Yeah, somebody stole my Windows CD and decided to install Windows on their own computer. So I got some nice pop-ups I got to deal with and see if I can get that straightened out. Thanks, by the way, if you're the guy from my work who stole my Windows CD and you're watching. So I want to rename the extension. And so on player respawn. Basically will run every time your player respawns, it'll just run this short little script. So I imagine you know where we're going with this. I can now paste in this and now just load inventory. Right? Now every time I respawn, it would automatically load whatever inventory we'd saved. Alright, so this is a very good thing to add into your missions if you're going to use this function, because that way when your players respawn, they load with the gear that they had saved. Now further to that, I'm just going to try and speed this up a little bit and create the other file right away without doing a demonstration in the middle. Alright, now the other one I'm going to use is init player local.sqf. The old way we used to use this was to do that in the init player. You know, if this was init.sqf, I would have to go something like if not is server, then in order to get a player. But now we've got the init player local, which only runs on player clients. All right, so all I'm going to do here is save the inventory. Because remember, when I came into the mission, the first thing that happened was I spawned where I placed my player unit in the Eden editor, but then I was automatically forced to respawn by the way I'd set up the mission attributes, and I had to choose a respawn location. Now that first respawn doesn't come with a penalty of having lost, let's say, a respawn ticket or that sort of thing. But it does do the same thing. So I'm going to grab this and save the inventory before I get to that first respawn screen where I select my first spawn in location. So I've already saved the inventory and been able to save the custom gear that I put in the Eden editor. Let's take a quick look and see if it works that way. Okay, so back on the editor, let's test this out. Oh, hang on. I want to go back. Might as well demonstrate this with an arsenal being unavailable too, right? Let's see if we can add something for that. So I'm going to props, supplies, ammo. Sure, let's use an RHS, virtual weapon crate. Why not? All right, cool. Going in. Now, I've already spawned in, and it just saved my loadout. Look at that. So I got into the mission, all right, and it loaded or saved my inventory before I actually got to the respawn screen. When I did the respawn, the on-player respawn executed, and I got my custom loadout as it was saved. So now, all the changes you made in the editor, now even if I respawn now, I'm not going to lose that gear. There we go. Still the same. And if I wanted to, I could have used this weapon rack as a way of saving gear. Right? I can go to the arsenal, get back up with something excellent, like you know, the Ranger Greens and the you know, everybody's favorite, the boonie hat. Hey, yeah, I look like an independent, but I'm up for don't shoot me. And whatever. There we go. Get myself my favorite rifle. There we go. All right. I can get the right vest, but it doesn't matter. All right. So now if I respawn, just to demonstrate, I will now have that gear. All right. So there are some excellent options for using the function LoadSave Inventory and be able to control the gear upon player respawns, and being able to use, most importantly, what I like about this is being able to customize gear in the Eden editor and have then that be consistent throughout the rest of the mission, or at least a lot more controllable. So that's Uncle from tacticalgamer.com, and catch you soon.